Last week, the MTA and the governor's office announced a new transportation project for the New York City area, named the Interborough Express. With that, there was a lot of confusion as to where the line would go, how it would be integrated into the current transit network in the city, and how many people would benefit from it. Well, in this video, I aim to answer all of those questions and thoroughly explain this new project, the possibilities for expansions, and my thoughts on it. Let's get straight into it. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more of this type of content on the channel, consider liking and subscribing. The Interborough Express is a newly proposed transit line running between Jackson Heights and Queens to Bay Ridge in Brooklyn. Well, is it really new? 25 years ago, the RPA proposed a tri-borough rail line running from Co-op City in the Bronx along the northeastern corridor to Queens, and then branching off to run along the now defunct Bay Ridge branch to the Brooklyn Army Terminal in Brooklyn. The Interborough Express basically cuts the Bronx portion of the route out. This provides connections with up to 17 subway lines and the Long Island Railroad. My instant takeaway from this is that it will provide quicker commute times for people needing to get from Queens to Brooklyn and vice versa. This is due to the line not crossing the East River into Manhattan. We see this a lot in other cities around the world where there are transit lines located in the suburbs, allowing people to get around the city without entering the center. One notable network that does this is the London Overground, which we will actually talk about more later on in this video. Now, moving on to how many people could benefit from this project, the MTA projects about 80,000 riders per day upon the opening of this line. When you consider the fact that the line won't even go through Manhattan, you will quickly notice the possibility for high ridership. This line would create a new transit option for close to 900,000 residents in Brooklyn and Queens, and it would open up a lot of job opportunities, as people would now have a quicker way to get in between the two boroughs. This could even help out people who need to get into Manhattan, with them being able to just get on this line and use some of the transfers along it to change to a line that goes into Manhattan instead of having to worry about taking a slow bus that often gets stuck in traffic, or even worse, driving. This will greatly benefit those who live in eastern Queens and Brooklyn, and even those who live in parts of Brooklyn like Bay Ridge, Borough Park, and Flatbush, where the line cuts through to the western edge of the borough, as this line could spark some transit-oriented development, giving some of these areas a big boom. Now, I've seen a lot of people comparing this to the G train, and while at a glance it does look rather similar, this serves a completely different part of the two boroughs that are massively underserved at the moment. Plus, this project has a lot more possibilities of expansions, which we will actually come back to later in this video. Now, moving on to possibly the biggest question I've seen associated with this is how it would be integrated with the transit network. Will it come as a subway, commuter, or regional rail, light rail, or even a BRT? Now, that is the question the MTA is actually trying to figure the answer out to right now. However, personally, I would like to see this as commuter or regional rail. I think if this is integrated into the Metro North or LIRR networks, there would be a lot more possibilities for expansions into the other outer boroughs. Also, the line already sees some freight traffic, so if the MTA is going to operate alongside CSX and the New York and Atlantic freight traffic, that kinda is the only option, without the MTA adding a lot of extra trackage. Now, the common misconception with commuter rail and regional rail in America is that it doesn't run frequently and you have to search up a timetable and tickets and high fares. But regional rail can be frequent and have a fare comparable with the subway. Look at the London Overground. It uses a lot of old freight and passenger rail lines in and around London, runs at an acceptable frequency of a train every 15 minutes or 4 trains per hour, even during the pandemic, and it uses a fare comparable with the tube, with no conductors checking tickets or anything of the sort. This would be great for this line, however with a higher frequency, Maybe something more near a train every 8 minutes or 6 to 7 trains per hour. With Metro North and LIRR soon to be supporting Omni, I think the fare could definitely be the same as the subway, and maybe even free transfers could be provided. Maybe there could be fare gates or turnstiles in the stations, similar to the subway, where people can just pay, get into the station, and wait no longer than 10 minutes for a train. Well, besides the C train, of course. The trains could also have a high capacity, with some longitudinal seating and more standing room, similar to a metro. Some cities actually do this, where commuter rail trains have a metro-like interior to allow for a higher capacity during peak times. A few examples of this can be found in Auckland with their AM series trains, London with their class 345 and 378 trains, even BART with their Fleet of the Future trains, although some may argue that it's really a subway system. You could even look at the Staten Island Railway's R44s, which are modified versions of the trains formerly used on the New York City subway. The versions that run on SIR are FRA compliant, however, they retain a lot of the design from the original version. Some of you may be wondering, well, if you're going to make all of these changes to make the rolling stock similar to a metro, why not just build the line as one? And the answer for that is expansions. The original Triborough RX plans had the line running across the Hell's Gate Bridge into the Bronx via the Northeast Corridor, which is owned by Amtrak. A normal subway line would not be able to run along this right of way. However, a commuter line with metro-like rolling stock could. This would allow the line to be extended into the Bronx and serve stations along the New Haven Line's PSA branch, which would increase the frequency of that line, while also introducing a way for people living in the Bronx to get to Brooklyn and Queens without traveling into Manhattan. This could also open the door to further expansions, like extending the line to Staten Island or branching it off along 3rd Avenue in the Bronx, really giving the city a useful commuter rail service. I'm glad the governor ordered the MTA to start an environmental review into this project and that it's finally moving along, as this has been a long-awaited one for people living in Eastern Queens. I really hope that we continue to see proposed transit projects moving along in the near future, like the Rockaway Beach branch, which I'm actually getting ready to create a video on, the Utica Avenue subway, and the Brooklyn Light Rail project. What are all of your thoughts on this new line? Do you like it? Tell me all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, consider liking and subscribing for more of this type of content. Happy rail fanning.